Everyone knows aviation history starts with hot air balloons and ends with the Wright brothers. But almost nobody talks about the decade in between, when engineers, dreamers, and at least one hat maker looked at the sky and said, yeah, I can put a steam engine up there. Welcome to the 1850s, when aviation briefly went full steampunk. I'm Bill, and this is Buffalo Air Park. Let's dive in. We tend to imagine early aviation as a neat timeline: balloons in the 1700s, silence for a century, then powered flight magically appears in 1903. But that's not how it actually happened. In the 1850s, something strange took hold. Humanity became obsessed with one specific idea: control. Balloons could already fly, but they were helpless. Wherever the wind went, you went with it. And in 1849, one newspaper editor confidently declared that anyone who believed a flying machine could ever be steered was, quote, a dolt. He added that there would be dolts to believe in it to the end of time. History, as usual, took that personally. In 1850, a French inventor named Pierre Jolien arrived at the Paris Hippodrome, basically the Madison Square Garden of its day, with something unusual: not a balloon, an airship. He called it the precursor, and for a good reason. Instead of a round gas bag, it was cigar-shaped, stretched out to slice through the air, and that alone was a radical idea. But the real twist? It was powered by clockwork. Julien built a giant, streamlined, wind-up machine, complete with side-mounted propellers, and a wire truss frame to keep the envelope from collapsing. As a model, it worked beautifully. It proved that shape and propulsion mattered. Unfortunately, unless you own the world's largest wind-up key, clockwork doesn't scale well when humans are involved. But someone was paying attention. That someone was Henri Giffard, an engineer who looked at Julien's wind-up toy and thought, no problem, I'll use steam. Now, pause for a second. Giffard's plan involved hanging a fire-breathing steam boiler underneath a balloon filled with 113,000 cubic feet of hydrogen. Hydrogen, the element best known for exploding. Surprisingly, Giffard wasn't reckless, just bold. In 1852, he built a 143-foot-long cigar-shaped balloon and fitted it with a 3-horsepower steam engine. To avoid immediate annihilation, he routed the exhaust downward, far from the gas bag, and wrapped the firebox opening in wire gauze, technology borrowed from mining safety lamps. On September 24, 1852, he lifted off from the Paris Hippodrome. And it worked. Giffard flew roughly 17 miles to traps at an astonishing speed of 6 miles per hour. The problem wasn't safety, it was physics. A 3-horsepower engine weighing hundreds of pounds is no match for even a mild breeze. Giffard could steer, technically, but only until the wind had other plans. Still, he proved something critical. Powered, stabled flight was possible. And he lived to tell the story. While Giffard was methodically pushing engineering limits, another man was aiming much higher. His name was Ernest Pétain. Pétain was a milliner, a hat maker, and in the early 1850s, he decided that single balloons were for amateurs. His vision? An aerial train. Imagine a massive rigid framework supporting multiple balloons in a row, complete with propellers and sails. Pétain confidently claimed it could carry 3,000 passengers. He took the idea to the French government, where French Minister Léon Fauchet responded with one of the greatest shutdowns in aviation history. He called balloons unsupportable, and added that railroads were already troublesome enough. Translation: we already hate trains. Please don't put them in the sky. Rejected at home, Pétain sailed for America in 1852, convinced someone here would fund him. They didn't. A test flight in Bridgeport, Connecticut, ended with his balloon tangled in telegraph wires. A Christmas flight in New Orleans reportedly reached 18,000 feet before crashing into a lake. The dream of the flying sky train ended soaked and electrified. Around the same time, another inventor was thinking differently. Ferdinand Leglis looked at the sky and decided it wasn't air at all, it was an ocean. So he designed the ballon poisson, the fish balloon. It looked exactly like it sounds: fins on the side, a large tail rudder, and a body shaped to swim through the air. It was strange. It was whimsical, and it was quietly brilliant. Inside the gas envelope, Leglease added something revolutionary: a ballonette, an internal air bladder used to maintain shape as the gas expanded or contracted. That one idea solved the floppy balloon problem, and it's still used today. So yes, most of these machines failed. We had wind-up airships, steam engines under hydrogen bombs, a hat maker crashing into lakes, and a flying fish that looked like it escaped an aquarium. But none of it was wasted, because a young German military observer named Count Ferdinand von Zeppelin was watching. During the American Civil War, Zeppelin rode in a balloon, but what he studied were the ideas coming out of France in the 1850s: elongated shapes, rigid frameworks, separate gas cells, and powered control. He took Zullian's form, Zephar's propulsion, and even Pétain's structural ambition, and finally made it all work. So here's to the 1850s. They didn't conquer the sky, they didn't perfect flight, but they asked the right questions, loudly, dangerously, and with absolute confidence. And without them, aviation history would look very different. And that wraps up another tale from aviation's stranger side. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies.